opening kan? Halo, salam dari Cah Ndesa. Ini kita mau paket malam di Flagstaff Hill. Jadi ini show yang malam hari. Kita udah dapat tiketnya.
The
Tales of the Shipwreck. Tiketnya Tales of the Shipwreck jam 9.15. Kita mau lihat itu. Oke, gimana serunya? Ingin. Yuk, sama-sama kita cek. Cus.
Welcome to Tales of the Shipwreck Coast. You're in for a show this evening. We've got some amazing tales to tell you, and I've got a few housekeeping ideas. So, as you leave the building here, you will be given, or you can actually collect, a lantern. They go this way or that way, depending how bright you would like it. And when you get to the Wharf Theatre where we're going to see the show, can you please turn them off and then at your feet? A special reason for that. So tonight, folks, we have myself, my name is Michelle, and we have Steve here as well, and we'll be here to look after you if you need anything and to make your journey and a pleasurable experience. Because unlike back in the 1800s when it used to take about 6 weeks to get to port from Melbourne, we're hoping this is a bit shorter.
Yeah.
Terlalu terang tadi ya?
Surit malam.
Hello! I'll try again. We are about to go together down to the Wharf Theatre. This is just a little reminder, please, to watch underfoot because the cobblestones are a little bit uneven. Yes, but we'll get there safely. Let's begin our journey. Thank you. To the wharf area, everybody. So we are stepping back in time. We are going back to the 1800s. But truth be told, there were people here, of course, over 120,000 years ago, research tells us. So we pay our respects to the Kunitjimara people upon which the land we are standing on. And they lived here peacefully for all those years. Then, around 1810, they saw the ships of the white man to come to this area. And the first white settlers to come here were whalers and sealers, a bit like Billy Dutton, who you saw up there. And they had to live amongst here in very rudimentary homes. They had to make their homes just out of whatever they could garner, branches, stones, sticks, whatever they could get to make some sort of shelter. And the winters can be harsh here, folks. So no place for women or children. But as the Henty brothers who settled here from the inland, they brought family and others, women and children. And by 1840, there was a bit of a township here. In fact, by 1847, it was declared a town. The town of Warrnambool was named, meaning the meeting place of two rivers, the Hopkins and the Merantau. Now, we are called the Shipwreck Coast for a special reason. And if you have a look up in the sky, you get a bit of a clue. Can anyone work out what that clue is?
No stars.
No stars. And of course, we used to navigate by the stars, and that's one of the reasons why the ships got off course so easily. And there are hundreds of shipwrecks littered on our coast here. You're going to hear about the wreck of the Lockhart. There's another one I like to tell you about. I only discovered it recently, and it's so amazing, this story. So, the Enterprise was a boat built in New Zealand in 1848, and by 1850 was doing market runs, selling local produce that the farmers managed to get together on September 14th. It happened to be potatoes and wheat. Now wheat's a strange one because we don't grow wheat here anymore. Potatoes, yes, because we have the rich volcanic reclaimed from the volcanoes now dormant Tower Hill and Budj Bim. They're very, very fertile soil. But they didn't check the weather, folks. They didn't check the Bureau of Meteorology. I bet this young person here even knows why. I won't put the pressure on. Does anyone here know why they didn't check the Bureau of Meteorology? Come on, kids. Why didn't they check? Because there was none. There was no Bureau of Meteorology back in 1850. So they just booked their ticket on the shipping agent and then hoped for the best, crossed their fingers and everything else. But a big southerly was blowing up. And very soon the Enterprise, as it was almost leaving the bay but didn't make it out, the anchor dragged and the rudder broke and they lost their load, their produce, potatoes and wheat, into the ocean. So they're in really dire straits. Worse because the crew couldn't swim. Unlike, we teach our young ones now to swim. We hopefully keep those skills. They didn't do that back then. Yeah, school we only went to once a week. So they were in trouble. But luck was on their side because there was an Indigenous man called Buckawell. And Buckawell was a really strong swimmer. He tied a rope around his waist and he, amazingly, fought those big waves that destroyed the boat. Amazing. And he made it out to the boat. They secured that rope to the boat and then the crew winched themselves to safety and he saved their lives. Time for us to make our way around to our destination port, fondly called the Wharf Theatre. Let's go. Alright, nothing left for us to do now except to sit back, relax, enjoy the show, everyone. Thank you.
Over thousands of years, the earth cooled and life gradually sprang forth. In the oceans and on the land. The Aborigines tell stories of how the land was created.
At the start of the Yakin, or dreaming, Terima, the great creator spirit, sent 4 creator beings to shape the different features that make our country. Now these beings, they weren't like you or me. No. They were giants. But they took on the shape of men and became the first lawmen who had special spiritual and ceremonial powers. To this day, their descendants perform special duties. Now, 3 of these original lawmen moved to other parts of the country, to the north and west. The 4th lawman stayed in this country, and when he crouched down, his giant body transformed into Tapok and Budj Bim, what the whitefellas call Mount Napier and Mount Eccles.
The new arrivals were sealers and whalers. If I say so myself, they were hard and ruthless men, not to be trifled with. Well, at first the Aborigines welcomed them. And what did they do in return? They went to war with them, that's what. But spears and clubs were no match for the whalers' muskets and gunpowder. And the Aborigines were either killed or driven from their country. It was a sorry business. The whalers had come here to plunder these giant beasts and nothing was going to deter them. I should know. I was one of them. And why were we here hunting whales on this isolated, God-forsaken coastline? To feed the insatiable demand for whale oil and whale bone on the other side of the world. That's why. The roar of the machines of the Industrial Revolution signalled momentous changes. The steam-driven machines of the Victorian era transformed the world. Automation created entirely new industries that allowed factories to produce goods on an unimaginable scale. Indispensable was whale oil. Its superior lubricating qualities made whale oil the ideal product to keep industrial steam engines operating. But whale oil was also used on the domestic front. I think about those fancy ladies and gents who lived in their fine houses in their big cities across the other side of the world. Little did they give a thought to where their whalebone and oil came from. Now, to be fair, before the whalemen came to Devonport town, I'd never have given it a second thought either. But the whaling boss did come, and he offered us jobs that would make us all our fortunes. I can still remember the night like it was yesterday.
Listen up, gentlemen. Listen up! Bit of quiet, boys. Well, thank you. I'm after a dozen good, stout men to crew my boats. I need to be strong enough to pull an oar, not afraid of a bit of hard work.
What's the wages like, boss?
I'll pay better than you'll get labouring in town or on a farm.
I hear that whaling's a mug's game.
Not a bit of it. You'll be going after rights. They call them that because they come right into shore. They're slow, and when they're dead, they float. And they produce plenty of oil. So that makes them just right for hunting. So, who's interested? Oil! Drinks all round, barkeep. And I want to see all you lads on the foreshore tomorrow.
Way, Billy.
The boss said about 25 weeks, Mum. Depending how many whales we find. Said it was like herding sheep.
Oh, do be careful, son.
I will, Mum, I will.
And before too long, I was boss of my own whaleboat crew and in charge of a harpoon and lancers. We were dumped on a barren shore, just a little way from here, as a matter of fact. And for months, we put up with bitter winds and with drenching, freezing rain that soaked you through the very marrow. And then we waited, and waited, and waited some more, while our lookout up on the cliff scanned the horizon. I was just a lad. In truth, I didn't know what to expect. But I was soon to find out it was nothing like herding sheep.
There she spouts! In the boat! Fast as you can!
Eyes up, lads. Stay sharp.
Your eyes peeled, lads.
Easy, boys. She's gone. I think we've lost her.
Brace yourselves, lads! Alright, she's dead ahead, boys, quick as you can! Put the backs into it, come on, lads! Hey! Hey!
Oh, she's a beauty!
We're gaining on her! Hey! 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 Closer, lads, closer! We get hurt, there's more money in your pockets!
Oh, I can't lose her now, lads. She is in spitting distance. Get the harpoon ready, Bill.
Mostly we got our quarry. There was nothing like herding sheep. We got a lot of whales, and I lost a good number of crewmates along the way. In no time at all, we'd all but wiped out the whales around here. And when there were no more whales to be had, we traded our little boats for big ships and moved on to fresh hunting grounds in the frozen oceans of the south. But the truth was that our days were numbered. Fashion and times were changing. Steel replaced the whalebone in the ladies' corsets. Kerosene and mineral oil were used instead of whale oil to light lamps and to lubricate steam engines. Whalebone and oil had had their day. And whalers like me had had their day too.
The bay here?
Be off with you! He's pulling your leg! When was the last time you saw a whale in these waters?
Yeah, now that you mention it, can't say that I have.
Well, that's what I mean.
Suppose you're right.
Of course I am. Don't go paying the silly old coot any mind.
But times were changing. In Britain, steam engines and factories were taking the place of farming and cottage industries. The Industrial Revolution, they were calling it. It's making some people very rich, but it's bringing great poverty too. People swarm.
In the 1870s is prosperous. It's a land where gold has brought untold wealth to the colonies, especially Victoria, where millions of merino sheep produce some of the world's finest wool that is exported to the world, and where fields of wheat stretch to the horizons. By any reckoning, Australia is a land of opportunity. Melbourne, with its gleaming new buildings and wide boulevards, is busy organising an international exhibition like those of Europe which promote the best in agriculture, industry and science, fraught with hazard and hardship.
The young women came first. The married women and their children followed. The men looked dark and stern, like men who knew they were about to confront danger.
Each person has 2 canvas bags given them, and we are told to put a month's clothes into them, as all the boxes are to be put into the hold of the vessel today. And
are made all the more vile when the weather turns.
Oh Lord, you should have heard the praying. No one slept a wink as the ship rolled, heaved and ground from one to the other, and as the captain bellowed his orders,
we trembled for ourselves and for those poor men, high up in the yards, balancing precariously above the treacherous seas.
A fine young man, one of the sailors, was washed out of the rigging. It is so dreadful to think he cried out 3 times for the lifebuoy to be thrown to him. But the tempest was so high, and in the pitch dark night they could not make the least attempt to save him. It has cast a gloom over the whole ship.
fearful and battened down. Few aggregations of human wretchedness could be much greater than was to be found in the close dark between decks of an outward bound emigrant ship. All expect very hot weather.
It is so hot that we are loath to go to bed. We do go about 10 o'clock. We lay and toss about for hours with our clothes dripping wet with perspiration.
A miserable group of travellers became galvanised into new life by, of all things, a butterfly. This was no inhabitant of the sea, but bore the olive branch of the land.
On opening the scuttle in my cabin, I perceived an aromatic odour, as of spicy flowers. I met a gentleman who said, "Come on deck and smell the land." And there it was, strong and delicious.
After close to 3 months, we were at last within sight of land and our salvation.
So ships now had to navigate their way into perilous Bass's Strait. It's like threading the eye of the needle. One such ship is the Lockard. Alas, incessant cloud cover has prevented Lockard's captain from getting true bearings.
Ah, the Lockard. Now there's a tale to be told. Not for nothing is this stretch of shore called the Shipwreck Coast. It's been the graveyard of many a fine vessel and countless numbers of sailors and passengers. As fine a ship as the Lockard was, she was still at the mercy of nature at her most unforgiving. And true, she had an able captain.
I am Captain George Gibb, master of the clipper ship Lockard. 29 years and married just 6 weeks when we commenced our voyage.
She had a capable and dedicated crew.
I am Tom Pierce, 19 years, apprentice seaman on Lockard.
And she carried but a few passengers.
I am Eva Carmichael, 19 years, passenger on the ship Lockard.
We carry everything. People, iron roofing, whiskey, tin goods. Even a magnificent pottery peacock as high as a man, entrusted to my care and destined for the Royal Exhibition in Melbourne.
But we were mostly carrying cargo. We had just 17 passengers on board and all were well cared for.
My father was a doctor in Dublin, migrating to Australia because of his poor health. He, my mother, and 2 of my brothers and 3 of my sisters would all start a new life in Queensland. My whole life sailed on Lockard.
And so too did many lives sail on the Lockhart on that fateful night.
There's a storm brewing, I reckon.
Wouldn't be surprised if it blows up a buster.
I pity any poor wretches out on the water on a night such as this.
You lost too many souls on this god-forsaken shoreline.
I swear I can hear some of them at night when the wind picks up.
That's just your mind playing tricks.
Well, maybe it is and maybe it ain't. Still, there'll be no mercy for any vessel out in this weather. Will you not?
When the weather suddenly turned, that we perished. A stout boat, said to be unsinkable, but that proved not to be true. Gone. All of us. And we were never found. 8 souls.
My dear wife always said the sea would take me. But I'm a sailor. It was all that I knew.
91 days out from home. Less than a day's sail to safe harbour. Our voyage has reached its tragic end. Sailors who hope for no more than a few days ashore in Melbourne, while the Lockhart is being loaded for its long passage back to England, will sail no more. Passengers, filled with hope for new lives in a new land, will never get to live those lives. Those excited to meet again with loved ones who had come out before them will never be reunited.
Me? Can I be the only one?
We will all be saved.
You know the others have perished.
Please help! Please!
Would ever see each other. There was one other survivor the night the Lockhart was sunk. The giant pottery peacock destined for the great exhibition in Melbourne. By some miracle, it was salvaged almost intact. It's just another amazing tale from the shipwrecked coast. A story of fiery volcanic eruptions, of new life, of the first peoples to tread this land. Of shipwrecks, of ghosts, of heroism and survival, and of man's battle against monsters of the deep.
Yes, thank you very much. And the good news is the whales were not hunted to extinction. They still come back to our waters every winter. They have their calves on a 3-yearly cycle. So that's the good news. Alright, the other good news for you, if you happen to be free tomorrow and you haven't already purchased a ticket for our day pass, you'll get a discount on the tickets that you've purchased this evening. So 30% discount. We do encourage you to do that because it marries well, if you like, with the nighttime experience. You'll get to see the peacock in real life. It's here. Bought for $4,000, I think, was it, Andrew? We've got our expert in the front seat here over here. Was it $4,000, Andrew?
Yes.
$4,000 in the 1970s. You could probably, no, you couldn't buy a house for that, but you can certainly buy a house for what it's worth now, about $4 or $5 million. So better than real estate, folks. Time for you to put your lanterns on.
Halo, udah barusan kita udah baru kelar. Cuman aku nih biasa video langsung penutupan di show-nya langsung kelar aja video. Tapi ini aku pengen ngasih komen dulu karena ini beneran recommended buat teman-teman yang ke Warrnambool karena asli.
Bagus banget.
Bagus banget itu aku berkesan karena nggak nyangka juga seniat itu show-nya. Karena aku pikir cuma nonton film di layar gitu ya. Ternyata enggak. Dia layar itu pakai air, jadi ada efek 3 dimensinya. Kemudian kursinya juga ada ala-ala 4 dimensi ya. Jadi kursinya tuh goyang juga ketika lagi ada adegan yang apa? Ya gerak gitu atau yang tabrakan kayak kapal segala macam. Kenapa? Ngomong. Terus ada layar juga untuk yang kayak cerita apa montage gitu zaman dulunya gimana. Dan aku ngerasa pas nonton yang layar pun tuh kayak lagi nonton layar tancap nggak sih? Karena diturunin terus ini, tapi lengkap juga yang diceritain ya. Jadi nggak cuman ini biar terang deh, nggak cuman sejarahnya shipwreck-nya sendiri, tapi juga tentang pemburuan pemburuan paus gitu juga di Warrnambool. Jadi ini udah hujan juga. Cuman aku merekomendasikan sekali show ini, yang siang, yang malam apalagi itu mending dua-duanya.
Mending dua-duanya karena harganya lebih murah. Jadi maksudnya jadi package kan.
Yes, dan buat kita karena tadi kita siang udah datang di video sebelumnya, kita jadi ada konteks sedikit nih, ya kan, ketika kita nonton cerita tuh lebih jelas dan lebih bisa lebih pahamnya tuh lebih gampang gitu. Jadi akan bagus kalau siang. Benar, bahkan kita bisa ngelihat relik yang ada di film itu nyatanya tuh ada di sini, kayak yang peacock tadi, patung itu ada di sini. Kita bisa ngelihat langsung dan nggak penasaran lagi dengan itu gitu. Ya, jadi buat teman-teman yang ke Warrnambool, please saran kesini ya, selain ke wisata alam lainnya, tapi untuk Flagstaff ini wajib dikunjungin. Oke, ada komen lagi? No? Oke, yuk kita next destination, hotel. Oke, kalau gitu salam dari Cah Ndesa. Sampai jumpa di video berikutnya. Cus.